Oh, and there it is, folks. The new intro, the first time I'm doing it. And let's go. And welcome, one and all to the MIRTH QUAKE web show. My name is David Badurina. I'm your host for the next hour. My guests, KT and Anthony, welcome you two. It's a pleasure to have you here, and I'm really glad we were able to connect, and thanks for coming on.
Heck yeah, thanks for having us.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Tim loves a new intro. Hey, I don't have my wrench. All right, we'll just try. I know she's like my handler. We'll figure it out. It's all good. I want to see if I can
give her a wrench.
Give the woman a wrench.
I know, I gotta get it. I'll have to look at the browser.
Man, we demand the wrench.
I'm terrible at this. I'll have to open up YouTube. I'll figure that all out. That's all good. So just a reminder, this show exists to help you, the creator, connect with fans, friends, and peers by showcasing not just your work, but your brain, creative process, and personality. Like, subscribe, hit the bell, all that kind of stuff. Over the next hour, expect some deep conversation, some lighthearted fun, some pitch storm, which is going to be real blast, and prying open the creative brains of my guests. So there we go. So anyway, guys, welcome, and I'm really glad you're here. And I want to do a quick get to know you round before we do anything else. Right. So I'm going to ask you some this or that questions, and let's just bounce back and forth. Right. And go for it. We'll go for roughly a minute or so. I don't really have a great timer, but it's fine. So let me start with this one. It's one of the most important questions really anybody can ask anyone, which is pineapple pizza or no pizza at all.
Pineapple pizza, 100%.
Yeah.
Okay, see, look at that. We're agreeing. This is good. No, both answer, and then we'll see where you disagree. That'll be fun. All right. Yeah. So let's see. Become a were-sloth or become a were-turtle?
I'm sorry. What was the first one? I missed that one.
A were-sloth or a were-turtle?
Ooh.
Were-sloth.
Yeah. No, I didn't answer fast. Now I'm going to say sloth. I had to think about it for a second.
Yeah,
I was thinking the shell might be acceptable, armor, because I could essentially, if I find the right ooze, I could become a ninja turtle.
That's a great point.
That's what I was going with.
That's a really great point.
In a world in which there is no secret of the ooze, I'm going sloth all day.
I think finding the right ooze is key. It could be the wrong ooze.
You don't want to find the wrong.
I don't really know what the wrong ooze looks like, but no, that's good. That's
karaoke turtle. You're just doing the wrong stuff.
No thanks.
So let's do this one. Let's go real easy. Cake or pie?
I'm
going cake because cheesecake and cake. You get both things. And
but I really love pie.
Yeah,
it depends on the time of year. If it's my birthday, cake all day long. If it's Thanksgiving, we're having pie, everybody.
Sure. But if you go to Cheesecake Factory and they serve both pies and cakes, what are you going? You're gonna do cheesecake all day.
I'm getting the cheesecake. And it's a slab this big. It's huge.
Yes.
Yeah. No, I've since we've been together and I've known you, I've seen you eat several cakes.
Okay, that's
and only
fair.
2 or 3 pies.
That's fair.
That's good. I like it. All right, so let's go another one. Let's do, would you rather have a personal driver or a personal chef?
Oh, chef.
Yeah, chef all day.
I don't have to leave the house. That's crazy.
No
it's
way.
Terrible. What about
that I need? Nothing.
Right. What about a day with Ferris Bueller or a day with Doc Brown?
Oh, Doc Brown.
Doc Brown?
Crazy answer.
So.
Doc Brown can literally take you back to see Ferris Bueller, and you can dance at the parade, and then also go see dinosaurs.
That's
get out of here.
All right, fine, Doc Brown. I changed my answer.
All right.
I'm sorry. I think there's only one right answer.
Calm down, Doc Brown. Calm down.
Let's go. How about this one? Skeletor or Shredder?
That's a good one.
Skeletor, because he reminds me of my dad.
You know what? He has the comedy thing down. Skeletor. He's got the sense of humor.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'll go with that.
Man.
That's good. Let's do a couple other ones. Let's do super strength or super genius.
I already am a super genius.
Yeah, I'm gonna say super strength because I don't want to be even more depressed. Who wants that depression? Get out of here.
It's good. Zombie apocalypse or robot overlords?
Oh God, zombie apocalypse.
Totally.
Yeah.
I'm surviving that all day.
100%.
Robot overlords? No,
I mean,
we've all seen Terminator.
Exactly. Yeah. Depending on the zombies, but regardless, zombies.
Oh yeah, if it's like 28 days later,
but even
zombies,
then,
we're all fucked.
Yeah,
like,
but even then, I'll take fast zombies over any speed robots that can crush my skull with their fingertips.
So
yeah. I'm not training over here. Yeah,
no way.
No. All right. So on that, let's go alien invasion or AI takeover.
Alien
invasion. They could be awesome. Like I don't know what they're like.
It could be awesome.
Yeah.
They invade. They make us a little better.
It could be totally peaceful. We don't know till they get here.
Well, we don't know.
Mars.
They're already here.
I, for one, welcome a few alien overlords.
Welcome to Earth.
All right. So last one I'll ask you: never eat pizza again or never eat tacos again.
Never eat tacos again.
You give up the tacos?
Too much pizza for the first one to be
That's
a thing.
fair. We only eat tacos
I've had tacos
every other week, really.
Listen.
Unfortunately.
It's been like
I'm trying.
Month
I know.
Since we had tacos,
I know. All right. Yeah.
guys.
Never eat tacos again just because of the fact that we've suffered through that already. Miserably, by the way. That's why we're here today. This is an intervention. It's a taco mention.
I'm sorry.
It's so funny because like literally 2 days, what was it, like yesterday or 2 days ago, I was like,
let's go to tacos
and I was like, I want tacos. We just haven't. We failed. Anyway, yeah.
That's all right. It's all good. And there's one question that I ask everybody that comes on gets this one. And so I'm going to ask both of you. I'm going to ask you to just think about it for a few seconds before you answer. It's the most important question on the show, which is if you had to travel in either a homemade hot air balloon way up in the sky, like I'm talking like 10,000 feet, right?
How homemade?
Like very homemade, like your neighbor, like your neighbor made it type of thing, right? Way up there, like no parachutes. You get there's no safety equipment, right?
Oh God. Okay.
Or a janky submarine way down in the deep.
No, I'm going up all day. I'm going up all day. Yeah. There's a chance I can look. If I lose all my limbs, I can still be awesome.
Yeah.
I can't. If I drown, I'm gone forever.
I know
I'm Shark Bait.
Who have fallen from planes in the sky and survived with no parachute. You know who I don't know? Anyone who survived a submarine drowning.
Right. Now, because this is like a big point of discussion for like everybody that has seen this show. And the argument that I always make, because I am team janky submarine all the way, right? Most people
interview over.
Let me just explain my point, just to get you to think about it, right? Which is, you've seen like the Titan submersible and the collapse and the whole thing. My point with the submersible is you're not drowning; it's over in 5 milliseconds.
Okay,
but from a hot air balloon, you're just screaming as the Earth is coming at you for like a while.
Yeah,
but I don't know if I'd really want to experience
before they even hit the ground from a heart attack. That's like
fair
super
too.
Fast too. It's just like
I think in either situation it depends on how high or how low you are, right?
So
like if I'm in the submarine and I'm like, can I make it to the top? Maybe I can. We're gonna roll those dice.
Yeah.
I try to keep it kind of like proportional, like you're way up there or you're way down there, but hot air balloons don't generally go above like 10,000 feet. And so there's all
that. It's fine. I'm sure I could. I'll figure it out.
It's all good. All right. So this is good. I appreciate that. Even though you're not on Team Janky Submarine, it's okay. But next thing I want to do is give you the floor, and we've got people from different channels and different circles and everything like that together. And so we may not know you as well. So take this opportunity. Plus, like, videos are out there forever, which I don't know if that's good or not. So take this opportunity to just, the floor is yours, right? And introduce yourselves, what you work on, and the kind of things that you like, and off you go.
Hi, I'm KT Carlisle. I'm an indie author of psychological thrillers and murder mysteries. I've written 6 books so far. I'm about to get started on my 7th. I had one come out just recently last month. I got another one coming out on Halloween, and another surprise one that is coming out this year that I haven't picked a date for, and you'll probably just see me on Twitter pumping that out.
Nice.
I'm Anthony. I am a comic book writer primarily. I work on an ongoing series called Deathless. I also host a weekly podcast called We Have Issues. You can see it on youtube.com/We Have Issues podcast. It's all about having daily issues and suffering through the nonsense of day-to-day life as an adult while you're trying to be a creative person. I also co-host a writing show with this beautiful lady called Our Relationship with Writing. And, we've been putting out some, I think, we have like 4 videos now.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have like 4. It's been doing okay. We just started it. We're getting stuff. Yeah, we're brand new into it. So if you're out there, follow our podcast. That one's at ORRW, right? Podcast.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah, I nailed it.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And then, but if you're watching
ORWW.
our relationship with writing. But also if you're watching this right now and you haven't subscribed to, the MIRTH QUAKE show, do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I'm a big proponent of that. I think we need to grow the community. So I always encourage everybody to subscribe. And I've got your your website link and the notes from your site in the show notes for the YouTube videos. We're actually streaming to YouTube, Facebook, 2 YouTube channels, 2 YouTube channels, Facebook, 2 X accounts, and Rumble all at the same time. The stuff's all in there, so you can hit the links and do all that.
Hi, Internet.
Wow. Hello,
I know. Hi, Internet. Yeah, exactly. Like I said, it's weird, but we get a lot of people from Twitter. So we get a lot of Twitter, not so much like in the chat from Twitter. But they're all just like kind of peeking, I guess, and that sort of thing. Once they work out the API, it's gonna be fine. But no, that's awesome. And that's a lot of book, KT. Like that's a lot. That's a lot of words. Yeah.
I've been writing.
That's okay. And some of the other things. So Anthony, for you do a lot with comics and comic books.
Yeah, primarily. I'm also working on a novel as well. But yeah, primarily
Nice.
comic books and graphic novels.
Right. And look, these are all creative pursuits. And so I'm just really curious to dig in. So the first thing I'm going to do is ask you the question that basically I ask everybody first, and I'll just have you both answer and just relaxing about it and give me your best shot on this one. But when I say the phrase creative process, what does that mean for you as an individual, like creative person?
Oh man.
Yep. I know we're getting deep right away.
Yeah, that's like a loaded question because it means so many different things. Like I watch a lot of true crime. So for me, a lot of the times it like starts there where I'm like watching a really interesting story and I just come up with a billion different what ifs to this one thing that has already happened. And then I end up starting to create an entirely new story from that. And that's how I wrote my first novel, which rolled into a trilogy. So it all just like spurred from there. Other times, with like I Know What I Saw, that just came from me driving through the same town from Vermont down to New Jersey and going through Whitehall so many times and saying to myself, what a weird town this is that has Sasquatch statues everywhere. What is going on? There's a story here to be told. And so like that kind of spawned that idea. So it really comes from different places. And then once the idea is there, just kind of like it's a matter of, okay, which one's eating at me more to tell it.
That's what I want to dig into a little bit. So if I can just ask you to expand on it just a tad. When the ideas come from whatever you're seeing and experiencing, which is pretty natural for people. But what's the process where like from the time it gets in there and it's the idea that floats to the surface and gets the most attention, right? To I need to write this down and this is going to become a story. What does that little in between look like for you? Is it, just thinking it through over and over? Is it sketching some stuff out? Is it starting a plot point? Is it just starting to write? So like what is that part of the creative process for you?
He's laughing because he knows that the process is me becoming obsessed with this idea and then talking about it relentlessly.
That's all it is.
Yep.
It's all it is. And it's funny. It's you just talk things to life instead of death.
It's true. And the reason why is because before I was very private about things that I was working on, and I didn't want to talk about them with anybody because I felt like, well, it's not ready yet, and I don't want anybody to like judge me for this half-baked idea.
Oh, I get that. Yep.
Yeah, but like, especially with him, like, because he's a creative person, it makes it a lot easier when I'm talking to him about things. Like, he's very helpful because a lot of times I'll like bring up something and he'll poke holes in it, but then he'll be like, but also here's all the dirt to fill those holes in that you could use if you want to.
Yep, for sure.
Yeah.
But you're a machine.
I get that. Anthony, what about you? Like, what is it like? What does the creative process look like for you?
I mean, it's very similar. Like I think of it more like a consumption and digestion, and like that. It's kind of just that, it's like you're constantly consuming everything in the world, experiences, media, whatever it may be, and then eventually those things like bubble up in your stomach and out burps a story or whatever, as disgusting but it's true. And like like my first graphic novella was a book called Play It Again. It's a semi-autobiographical time travel graphic novel musical.
Nice. Okay.
It's
fantastically depressing.
Thank you. It is. Yeah. Well, I mean, that was a story that it was wrought from, just a terrible moment where I was packing up my belongings after this awful breakup. And it was like one of those world shattering, like life-changing breakups where you think, where am I going to go from here? I put on music, and suddenly all the music started, just tearing memories out of my brain, so I felt like I was being sucked back in time. So I wrote this whole book about a person who's packing up their life, and they put on a record and literally get sucked into the music and thrown back to the moments that those songs remind him of.
Love it.
So so it's just like those experiences, just informing, a fiction that I, want to tell, and just working out, working through issues that I have, with myself. It's just therapy. It's free therapy for me.
I think that's true for like all creatives, right? Like we kind of turn to this medium because it's what helps us feel good. Because a lot of us, are going through stuff or have been through stuff, and we're trying to work through it in a way. And this outlet gives us that way to do that.
Yeah, it's like expressing and also connecting somehow. Yeah. It's kind of a perfect.
Every book that I've put out so far, and I'm up to 3 and some short stories, but each one there was some kind of a life change that was going on. For my debut novel, I was a few thousand words in when my big brother passed away, and completely changed the trajectory of everything. And that book was therapy for me, but I wanted to do it in a supernatural urban fantasy, but I was able to deal with the issues of love and loss and all those different things within those pages. And then when I switched up to comedy and did Space Pew Pew, that was just finding my joy again because once that debut novel was over, I had to deal with my brother being gone because it was a distraction. Once it was like you hit publish, I was just like, oh no, like, oh no, I don't have anything to like not feel this. So I just lean into the comedy, and that's how I found my joy again. And so, and then creative nonfiction was actually just a real relief as well, because that allows you to work through these things. So I totally get that. And I think it's really important to talk about that and not be shy about it, honestly, because I think it really does, when you're authentic about things like that and other people are picking up on it and reading your work, it resonates like in a huge way. And you don't even realize it, that you're helping a lot of people that aren't even going to reach out to you or say anything. They're not going to leave a review, but those pages mattered in that person's life. And that's just kind of brilliant, right? Because here we are taking ideas that come out of nowhere or come out of something that's like a sad situation. You're creating something totally original from all of your lived experiences and everything else in that moment in time, putting it out into the world. And all of a sudden you're helping other people, which is kind of brilliant, right? Like, I mean, that's a gift when you boil it down. That's a real gift. So I'm really glad to hear that. Let me ask you just something more on the more practical level of it. Are you plotters or are you pantsers? Or are you somewhere in between? Like, how does
we're both like major plotters. She pants like
one
time. Like, never again.
The first novel, the only reason why my murder mystery trilogy is a trilogy is because I pantsed the first one and it got way out of hand, and I was like, I can't ever do this again.
I made a mistake.
Mistakes were made, and I made all of them. But yeah, no, I ever since that first one, even for the second two in that same series, I was like, all right, I need to be more like diligent about this. But we're both very much like that, where we want to make sure all of our ducks in a row before we start, putting pen to paper or fingers to keys.
Right. Yeah. No, I get that. Are you? So you're. I mean, like diligent outline. Like it. Do you have a word count for your outline? Let me ask it that way.
I mean, I don't set one, but they typically end up being around 6 pages.
Wow. Okay.
So probably like 3,000 to 6,000 words.
Right. All right.
Yeah.
Yep. I spoke with I actually was Devin Erickson that I had him on a couple months ago, and he's like, yeah, I'll do an outline of 30 or 40,000 words.
Oh God,
30
no.
or 40,000 words is that's the novella. Like, wow, I can't, and for me, like this is something I struggle with, where it's like I feel like if I outline too much and I'm doing too much of that structuring, that I lose a little bit of the ability to just kind of wander off, which is my favorite part of writing.
Yeah, that's what I like.
So there's got to be a balance.
We need the balance.
Yeah, I want to build like the skeleton of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just like as I'm writing it, that's
you like
where
to play with the meat.
I like to play with the meat and the blood and all the things. Yeah,
just splash around the blood.
Just splash around the blood. It's fine.
Gross, but okay. Yeah, no, I like it. So Anthony, what about you? Like when you're writing things or what you're working on now, or working on a novel, are you into the plotting like that to that degree?
Well, I don't outline to such an extent. I outline very like bullet point based, where it's just this happens, this happens, this happens. The character recognizes this. This is just I do basic arc stuff. I primarily follow sort of a like archetypical like story structure. Like here with so
you just want to you want to hit your beats basically.
Yeah, pretty much. I just make sure that those beats are hit, and then I like similarly play with me. I play with my meat.
Yeah,
that's what I do.
He plays with his meat, guys.
Well, this took a turn. No, that's good. So let me ask you just about process wise, like physical process wise of getting the words down. Yeah. Do you are you most creative, do you think, in the morning? So I'm going to ask like the nocturnal, diurnal, crepuscular, right? Like, are you a daytime writer, a nighttime writer, a morning writer? When are you at your most creative?
I'm definitely most creative in the afternoons. Mm-hmm. I've kind of trained myself to be that way because I write for a living. So in the morning, I wake up pretty early, I get to it, and then I crank out like anywhere between 8 to 10 web pages in the morning. And then by like 11 o'clock, I'm usually done with work, and then I can focus on whatever books I want to write or whatever projects I'm working on that day. Gotcha. And then I'll kind of do that until we pick up the boy from his activities.
Life stuff that has to go
on. Yeah, and I'm the same. Like morning, like I have, I work all morning on the various projects and whatever. I do. Well, we plan things out. I write, I'm going to write on this many pages of my comic today. I'm going to edit this many pages of my novel today, or this many chapters or whatever. That's what I do.
For the comic, let me ask you: are you involved like in the graphic design, the artwork as well?
Yeah. So my best friend and I, we've known each other since high school. It's a billion years, and we've been trying to make comics forever. And it wasn't until recently, just like about 4 years ago, where I said, okay, well, let's actually do this and stop failing at it. So we made a podcast called We Have Issues, and we've been keeping each other accountable. And ever since, we've been putting out these books. But the way we do it is like I write it and I do all of the like thumbnails and like tell him. So basically I plot out everything that happens on the pages.
Storyboard, right? Like
storyboarding it. Yep. But here's like the thing. I give him creative freedom with my script to just translate it. If he doesn't like what I've written, he can change the visuals because I want him to have like the capability of like expressing, himself and like being dynamic and doing whatever he wants, feeling like it's his as well. So we do that together. And then he passes it back to me and I color it. And then I pass it back to him and he does the secondary layer.
Oh, wow.
and he passes it back to me, and I do all the lettering, like the bubbles and like the onomatopoeias and all like all that stuff. So we're like it's a little system that we have where we both work on everything.
Yeah, I mean, it works. That's tricky too, because you're involving somebody else's creative process now.
Oh yeah.
Into the whole thing. But once you find that out and you're able to get the workflow down, I mean, kudos to you, right? Because there's a lot of us out here don't work well with others.
Oh yeah.
So that's definitely so that's pretty cool. So for both of you, it's basically like, devote some time to it during the day. Not so much like stay up till 2 a.m. writing type of thing.
I used to do that because it was I'd work in the morning while my son was at school, and then I'd be with him all day, and then it wasn't until he got to bed. But recently I'm just home writing. That's all I do now. So
nice. Yeah. No, that's good.
I've tried to do the writing at night thing, and I just find that like at a certain point my brain just gets like, it just turns to mush.
Yeah.
At a certain hour, I become a gremlin and I cannot do the words. I can't write after midnight. It doesn't work.
That's right. It gets really bad after that. No, I totally get that. I understand it. A lot of people, they do, people have to work around their schedules. Life gets in the way, jobs get in the way, kids, like there's all sorts of things that we're trying to balance while still maintaining the creativity and getting it down. Some people do the just like audio recording, and I have no idea how they do it.
I know somebody who does that, and she does it for work. Like we both work for the same place, and she's telling me, "Oh, I'm like dictating my pages." I'm like, "How the hell are you doing that? What?"
Captain Plug, Stardate. Yeah. What? Right. I can't imagine.
Mine would just sound like stuff happens. I'm like, I don't think that way. I have to have the words.
Like, I need to write a word, delete it 20 times, decide that it's finally okay. Yeah. Like, that's just, I can't just sit there with a recorder.
Exactly. No, I get it. I want to get to a couple of comments here. So Jacqueline, she's in the other room right over there. Just don't want to work with others. I mean, that's fine, and that's okay too. And by the way, I got you your wrench. You're welcome. So like everything's cool there. Room to wander. I've had one outline chapter turn into 5. Jeez, man. But true, sometimes the side part of the story takes over and off you go. Molly's here hanging out. Oh, look, it's my 2 best friends. It's very sweet. And so Saffron, huge fan.
Sappy, I love you.
Tim's big on the wrench. So, and really, we're gonna get into this. I think I want to name the cat Cheesecake. Yes. All right. So look, we just got the cat, and we're going over names and the whole thing. Cheesecake was one of the ones that I had thrown out there, just because I think it's funny to name animals after food. My other suggestion was beef. That got shot down, but some people liked it. The cat she's white. She has a brown spot on her butthole. I'm sorry to say this, but one of the names I thought of was Jessica Chastain. Just going to leave that there because I enjoy those kinds of names. So, but that one's not going to happen either. But look, I'm down with Cheesecake. We left polls on all the socials and all that kind of stuff. So hopefully that's it. When I first saw that comment, I thought it was, I want to eat cheesecake. And I was like, yes. But no, not the cat. All right. So back to some creativity stuff. Sorry for that aside. Do you self-impose deadlines, or do you work well under deadlines? I'm kind of curious, and I'm always curious about this with people that basically like publish independently. They're not under contract for this has to be done by this certain time. So what is your deadline relationship?
Yeah, I'm very deadline driven. I always have been, and I need that structure, or I know that I won't finish things. So if I tell myself, okay, it needs to be done by this time, I know that I'll do it, because worse than breaking a promise to somebody else, I don't ever want to break a promise to myself. So I know that if I set that for myself, I'll do it.
Yeah, I'm very similar. Also, I tend to work pretty well under duress. Like I'm just like, oh, I only have a day to do this. Okay, I'm better now.
Done.
I don't. But yeah, it's all self-imposed. But it's like a goal-driven like situation where like I want to get more books out. I want to because because like for since last year, my friend and I just happened to have a lot going on in our lives, and we ended up only publishing one comic book issue last year, and I was just, it took way too long, but it's, sometimes life gets in the way, and it's
Right.
this is what happens. But this year I'm just like, nope, we need to do it by this time and this time, and so, but yeah, so I do the same thing, and it works though.
Yeah, I think it works. I like, some people have commented on like posts of mine that I've made to that effect, and they're like, oh, you shouldn't do that, it's gonna be too stressful, or you're gonna burn yourself out. And I'm like, no, that's just the way I work. It's the way I've worked with everything in my life. Like, if I stop doing that, then I know I'm gonna fail. So like, and I don't want to fail. I want to just keep doing the things that I love to do, and I found a way that I'm able to do it and actually complete things. So it's what works for me. It's not what works for everybody. So I'm not telling everyone to do it. I'm just saying, hey, this is what I do.
This is how it works for you. No, I agree. There's something really important to know, which is your creative process. Like, you have to know how you work best. And that's how you get your output and all those different things down. And I think for a lot of authors that are just starting out, they don't have a handle on that. And they're getting a lot of information from different sources that say, oh, you have to write 1,000 words a day. Some people don't write 1,000 words a day. I don't write 1,000 words a day, but I'll have a day where I'll write, 9,000 words. And then I maybe won't write for 4 days. Like, it all depends. All of our situations are different, but when and you can give yourself some grace if you have a day that's just a fail, where you're not getting too down on yourself. Like, those things are really critical too. So into something a little fun, and we touched on this in the green room before. So I want to just put it out there for the whole internet to understand, which is your relationship with music while writing. So Anthony, you go first.
Yeah, Anthony, go first.
I like to listen to soundtracks while I write.
No, you don't.
So cool.
Don't lie to the internet.
Really cool. No, I am a psychopath. I listen to nothing while I write. I just absolutely
amazing.
Silence. I just sit there, and you know what I listen to? I listen to myself go, you suck at this. Do better, do better, do better, do better.
Savage.
Yeah. That's no, okay. I have, like, when I used to write more screenplays, sometimes I would do that where, like, I'd put on a soundtrack, but my problem is I find myself writing to the soundtrack too much, and I find it, like, leading me a bit in the same way that, Chumbawamba would make you write about getting knocked down and getting up again. Like, I can't, like, I'm just like, this is still a very dramatic scene for some reason. It's going on for a very long time. Like, oh, it's because I'm listening to this particular soundtrack. I'm stupid. What am I doing? So I want to kind of, I want it to exist. I create it in this vacuum, so it is what it needs to be, instead
without any outside influence.
Exactly.
Instead of like, first chapter they were getting knocked down, second chapter they were jumping around, and the third chapter they were doing the Humpty dance. Like, I get it. No, that look, and I get it. That makes sense. I'm very protective of my influences as well, and so especially in terms of whatever I'm reading, diving into, or anything. Like, I've got to be really careful, because I don't want anything making a mark on what's authentically creative for me. So, like, I totally get that. Some of us tend to use the music in that way, where, like, it will influence us. So put on the sad songs if you're writing the sad scene. Put on the like techno, whatever, if you're writing some insane stuff or what have you.
I wonder, part of it, do you create music at all?
Not really create music. No, I have my favorites that I listen to while I'm writing. And so I like to,
I write music, and like, I think part of my issue is, like, when I listen to, like, instrumental stuff, I will sit there and make up words and be silly with it, and, like, come up with songs constantly. And I'm
do that in everyday life.
I do that in everyday life. I can't help it. That's just what I do. So like, if there's music on, like, it happens sometimes because, we work together. She sits right there, and I sit, this is my desk. And so I can hear what's in her earbuds throughout the day.
Right.
So I'm writing, occasionally I'll just start, like, singing a song, and I'll be like, oh, stop. And I'm like, no, this isn't my music, that's her music, and it's fine.
I'll get some noise canceling.
No, I love it.
There's that. I mean, this one, I had to put up this one for Molly. My husband is currently in the kitchen singing Cher at the top of his lungs. I need music to block everything out. Do you believe? Anyway. All right. Well, KT, what about you? What's in your ears when you're writing?
Lo-fi hip hop all day long.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's literally all it is. Trance music will sometimes find its way in there too. I'm okay with that. But yeah, it's always the lo-fi hip hop station. No words, because I'm the same way like that he is with just like beats. If I hear any words, they're finding their way into my manuscript somehow, and I don't want them there because they're not mine.
Right. This is this is so fascinating to me too. So Jeremy is, I play movies or shows in the background so I can hear gunshots, screams, car wrecks, and chaos to set the mood.
Oh my god.
Oh man.
Well,
Look.
we're in South Florida, so we just hear that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just there. It's just out there.
Here we go.
The sound of murder.
That's good. And Molly, tell your husband I said hi. We nailed the song together, so that's good.
Nice.
I didn't expect doing a duet tonight, but there it is. All right. So yeah, no, the lo-fi, there's lots of like YouTube channels and stuff like that. It's just like study music, things along those lines, you know, and I can do some of that too. Like I think it's having something in there, like is just with nothing. I could, maybe not while editing, like I won't listen, but while writing, I typically have something.
She's gonna say, "I'll be right back in like 2 seconds."
Hey, take your time. No, it's all good.
I have a daily alarm that goes off, and I totally forgot about it, and it's just been like on in the background,
just going like
timing. And that's why he like whispered to me. He's like, "Is it ever gonna stop?" I'm like, "Yeah, eventually," but it's been going for like 8 minutes now. I'm like, "It's never gonna stop."
Just a fire alarm. There's nothing to worry about. Like we're fine.
Totally fine.
So let me ask and start with you then. For criticism, when you get any kind of a critique or a poor review or anything like that that's critical came by, and how did you handle it when you were first starting out? How were you handling it while you were getting into your groove, and how do you handle that kind of thing now?
Yeah, I think when I was first starting out, it was a little bit more difficult for me to swallow it. But now it's like, oh, thank you. Now it's a little bit easier. And but I think even like in the beginning, I have a lot of like great alpha readers in my life, or like the people who kind of just like tell me what I'm doing wrong as I'm going, like as I'm actually writing the book. So by the time it gets to betas, I'm a little bit more confident, and then by the time it goes to an editor, I'm like, yeah, this thing's awesome. There's nothing wrong with it. But but no, like, and he's great with that, because every time I am working through a book, he's laughing again because he knows, like I'll read him the chapter that I wrote that day out loud. And as soon as I get done, I'm just like, so what did you hate about it? And
every time,
every single time,
I have to take notes because I'm like, what do I hate about this?
And like, it's great. I love that, because like I need to know. It's the only way that you're gonna get better at your craft. And like you can't just sit there and like ask somebody to kiss your ass all day, or you're just gonna sit there and think that you did everything perfectly, and you didn't. There's no way that you did. You know, even if you really truly believe that in your heart, there's nothing wrong with it. There is something that you can improve upon. And as far as like negative reviews go, I try not to think too much about them unless they're coming from somebody who I know personally and deeply respect, and, you know, understand that like they may have experience in this matter, or, you know, a vested interest somehow. But as far as like just like general readers, I mean, not every book is for everybody. And I think it's important to keep that in mind, because, you know, you can't please everyone. You know, I hated Catcher in the Rye. Plenty of people love that book.
And I both. Is my most hated book ever. Despise it. I mean, it is what it is. And, you know, there's something to be said for the fact that like once you get the work out there, it's not really yours anymore. The reviews, everything, it just belongs to the readers and how they see it, how they perceive it. And it's important. What they tell others is really important. You know, there's recently discussion on Twitter about this in terms of matching, you know, like putting your book out there for a specific audience, so the audience knows what they're getting into, and that's really important too. Like, you know, I'm not going to have a book called Space Pew Pew with a cover on it that's just like, you know, some pregnant lady prancing through a meadow. Like Actually, that may work, but I'm just saying, like, you know, you would know what you expect for a book that's titled that way or anything else. And so making sure that the reader has a good experience because they know what they're getting into and can share that with others. Like those are the really, you know, I think those are the really critical things. And just like you said, learning how to put the criticism into the correct bucket. You know,
Yeah.
somebody I know, like, all right, what can I learn from this? What can I take from this? My question that I've asked beta readers is, okay, what was weird? Like
Yeah.
that's like what was weird, you know? And
Yeah.
if they're like, you know, this scene just seemed a little out of place. Okay, like, and if 4 out of 5 beta readers say the same thing, I'm gonna make the correction. If
Yeah.
one of them is like, I didn't like this chapter, it was too slow, and the rest of them were like, this is great, I'm keeping it, you know, and I just do it very matter of fact in that way. But
Yeah.
Anthony, what about you in terms of criticism? Like, what does it look like? How do you handle it? And has it changed over time?
Yeah, honestly, I'm not very concerned at all with anyone's opinion about anything. Yeah, I'm not.
He really is.
I'm not. I don't care.
He's my hero. I love that about him.
I love writing. I was writing before people were reading what I was writing, and I'm gonna continue to write as people read it. Hopefully, you know, I do want people to enjoy the books. I write with the audience of myself in mind. Like I like to write books that like I would like to read. Like that's that's how I know. Like, you know, you were talking about that moment where between like having an idea and knowing it's the thing that you're gonna write. And like for me, it's usually like, oh, this is something that I haven't read that I'd like to read that doesn't exist yet. Why doesn't this exist? Because I'm the one that's supposed to make it exist. Oh,
yes,
you know, like that's my job right now. You know, so I do that, and like of course, you know, if someone says something and I have an insecurity about that thing, it's not going to feel great, you know. But at the same time, you know, everything's so subjective. Like no one can tell me that pizza isn't delicious, you know, like no one can tell me I like what I wrote. So like you can have whatever opinion you want, you're entitled to it, but it doesn't really affect my enjoyment of the thing.
Yep. No, it's good armor to have, man. You know, that's just you being an authentic creator and being you. You know, I've had both experiences where it's like, you know, the drive-by 1-star review is like, what are you even doing? Like, it's like, I don't even care.
Before because of social media stuff.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, you have to have, especially now with, you know, everyone sees everything. It's like, hello, internet, you know, if anyway, like if you post, if I'm like, oh, I thought that the Dawn of the Dead remake was better than the original. People are just like, oh, let's go to his page where he wrote a book and give him a 1-star rating. Like, okay.
Yeah, well, there's that too,
You know.
for sure.
I had somebody tell me that they were gonna stop reading my books because I rehomed my dog.
Yeah, that was like, true. What? That happened. That
seriously?
Happened.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's, I mean, like, as sad as it is, it does kind of reinforce the like apathy or like indifference towards certain people. And
just okay.
Yeah. For me, it's like a lot of the time it's people telling on themselves for not having self-awareness to know what they like. Cause like you were saying, you know, the book, it tells exactly what it is and the kind of book it is and what I'm advertising is perfectly in the book. If you don't like that, maybe you should have read more. You
could have consulted me first, and it would have been fine. Like,
I'm just saying. Okay, here's the thing. Here. It's very simple. If you don't like ninjas, you don't like turtles, you don't like teenagers, don't read Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles because your mind's gonna be blown. Like you're gonna hate it. You're gonna 1-star review this all day. Okay, like get out of here. They don't need you. But yeah, that's you know. People don't recognize the intention of the author a lot of the time, and that's that
sure.
happens, you know?
For sure. No, and sometimes they're just like they're off put by your writing style or whatever. Like I get it. You know, some people like faster paces. Some people love prologues. Some people hate prologues. Like it's all a mix of this kind of stuff. KT, you were going to say, I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, no, I think though that like, you know, there's this culture of like, oh well, the reviews are for the readers, and I think for the most part that's true. But there is an occasion when I think as authors you can and should stand up for yourself when something is being talked about in a way that is categorically incorrect. For instance, I was accused by a reviewer who I knew and I had sent a free copy to. And she had accused me of victim blaming in the book for people who deal with mental illness and like
Ah,
suicidal ideation. And
yeah.
I was like, yeah, hi, like that's me all day long.
Like this was
Like
based
this is
on my
based on my personal experience. This is how it like
Yeah.
basically happens. So for you to say that is just so it's insensitive to me, and I just
Yeah.
completely disagree with it. Like I just think that that's wrong, and I really feel strongly that you should take that out of your review.
Yeah.
Like that was
It's-
that to me was like, oh, that's terrible. Why
Right.
are we doing this over
Got
again?
alarms going off everywhere.
Everywhere.
No, and yeah, in that kind of a case, it's good to clarify and clear the air, you know.
Yeah, and
use that for
that's
something,
all
for
it
sure.
was. I just had a conversation with her. I was
Yeah.
like, "Hey, like, you know, why are you saying this?" And we talked about it, and she's like, "Oh, okay, like I get it. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's
I
fair."
mean, rule number one of the internet is there's no shortage of shit opinions out there. So like, there's that too.
Yeah.
You know, I've been on YouTube for a long time, and having, you know, a lot of the you know, videos when I first started, I was talking a lot of psychology and some writing and things like that. And you know, I'd have something as simple as this sweet creature behind me, right? My little Penelope von Squigglebottom. And you know, I had a video where I had the snake out and she was just like in my hand or whatever else. And then I've got this guy who's in the comments and he's like, "That's a snake. I would kill it." I'm like this is like, she's my girl. Like you can't like, you know, what are you doing? You know, and then I'm just like, you know, like these people are just, they're just out there. There's a lot of just really miserable people out there. And that'll tank a review. And you see this all the time, especially, you know, in the as the book world turns, for crying out loud, where people are just like, you know, mass downvoting things or mass one starring things because they don't like something the author tweeted 4 years ago or what have you. And it's just like, it's not about the book. You know, I received a 3-star review because the book was fine, but the pages fell out because it was mailed in the summer and the glue came apart.
What?
So it's like,
wait.
Oh my
Okay.
god, you have to do the Dune.
No, it was
Oh, not-
Silo.
yeah, Silo.
Okay, so we started watching the show Silo, and I was
I
like,
love it.
wanna-
It's a good show.
Yeah,
Yep.
I love that show, right? I'm like, we got really into it,
It's
so I was
so
like,
great.
I want to check out the book series. So I was like, I
Okay.
went to go on the book series, and I thought, now here's the thing, I almost never go on reviews, but I was like, I really like this series, so I want to see what 1-star reviews are like for this book,
Oh
right?
God. Oh,
So,
my
no.
God.
so I click on the 1-star,
It's
but
so
here's
funny.
the funniest thing in the world, right? All of the 1-star reviews, and there are several of them. You can check it out on Amazon.
It's amazing.
But they're all about the fact that there's a little bit of extra space in the box set. People hate the fact that they're like the books don't fit perfectly in this box set.
You can
1
fit a
star.
novella in between that space. I'm like, what?
And it's
is
over
happening?
Really?
and over. And it's so funny because like people like us, we're all, you know, we're writers, so we're like, oh yeah, they're gonna review the work, the story, the narrative,
Right,
how it
right.
feel, what their experience was with it. And these people are literally reviewing the physical thing that they're holding in their hand, like, oh no, this is it's a little rough on the top. Like, I didn't control that.
Did you buy it as a decoration or did you buy it to read?
I feel like I put it under my chair and it still wobbles. I don't love this.
Look, I'm sorry, but this makes me want to publish a book called How to Live with OCD, but make the C just a little higher than the other letters, you know, just for fun. Like, see, what are the reviews going to be like on this one? Oh my goodness. I mean, like that's what it is. But this is the thing about criticisms that happen. It's like it says a lot more typically about the person leaving the review than it does about you and your work. And so, you know, being certain of yourself is like, that's really important. And I've been in both camps where for my first novel, I did beta readers. I took that feedback serious. I gave them questionnaires so I could aggregate the feedback. I'm like a data guy for the day job. So, you know, that sort of thing is important to have that structure for me and how I get information and deal with it. For Space Pew Pew, which was just like, I'm just writing straight up absurdity. Like I'm writing comedy, sci-fi comedy. For that, no beta readers, nobody saw any of the words. I just wanted to publish it, you know, and went that way because I'm like, this isn't for you. Like, this is just totally for me and this kind of thing. Very well received and everything else. Like everything worked out great, but approached it in different ways but totally prepared for a poor review because especially with humor, it doesn't always hit for everybody. Like it's, you know, not everybody loves Monty Python. I get it. I don't understand why, but like, you know, I understand that's the case. So let me ask you a couple more. We're going to dig down just a little bit. Right. So what about a time? Can you highlight a time for me where you had a difficult time creating, and whether it was depression, anxiety, or whatever, a mental health issue or just life circumstances at the time, what did it look like? What did it feel like? And what eventually pulled you out of that?
Yeah, I mean, I think after my dad died, he was my best friend,
Mm,
and the biggest he's the reason why I write. Like most other kids' parents were telling them you have to do something practical with your life, and he was like, no, you need to do what you love and the money will follow.
mm,
So he's like my biggest champion, and so he died, and after that I didn't even want to read anymore, let alone
mm,
write. And I didn't for like 5 years. And I just lost it because I was like, if he's not around to see it, then what's the point of doing it? Like,
right.
I don't want to. Um, and then I just kind of came to this realization that by not doing that, I was dishonoring his memory, and he wouldn't have wanted that for me. So I decided to give it another shot. And I'm like, this time I'm actually going to do it. I'm going to
Mm,
complete it. Every other time I had tried, I had never succeeded and finished anything. So I was like, I'm going to do this time, and I'm going to do everything differently than I had done it before. And so I sat down and I started writing, and 100 days later, I had my first book.
mm. How long ago was this?
This was a year and a half ago.
Mm,
Yeah.
right.
So it was pretty recently. Um, and then since that time, it was like the floodgates open. Since that time, I've written 6 books total.
Mm.
Um,
So let me ask you, do you feel like the book and the writing is part of a grieving process for you?
yeah, absolutely. Especially that first book.
Yeah.
Um, a lot of that is inspired by my dad and things that I had been through with him. The second book that I've ever written, which is actually now in the hands of beta readers for the first time, um, is all about my dad.
Mm,
Um, it's funny because like in the book, like he's portrayed as this like serial killer, but there's a lot of like family dynamics and like background things that are completely true.
mm,
um and reading that over again was hard.
yeah.
um because not only does it deal with that, but it deals with other relationships that I had, like with my now officially ex-husband, who abused the crap out of me for
Mm,
over a decade. Like, I look at the dynamic between the main character and her husband in that, and I'm just like screaming at her. I'm like, get out. Like, what are you
yeah.
doing?
Yeah.
Because it's one of the most honest things I've ever written. And I look at it and I'm like, oh my God, like how are you this blind that you don't see?
Yeah.
Like, you need to get out of this situation.
When you're in the thick of it though, you don't,
Yeah,
it's really, really difficult. So,
yeah.
I understand, like, I understand a lot of what you're talking about here. And, I'll echo that. I'm really sorry for your loss there. I know what it's like.
Yeah.
I had yeah, my brother passed and my dad passed about a year and a half after that.
Oh my
And
God.
with my brother, it was sudden. Like, he was fine one day. He was going in for a routine surgery, and he didn't come out of anesthesia. He was 15 minutes under the knife. That was it. And he was gone. And
Oh
he
my
was
God.
54 years old at the time. And
Yeah, my dad was 56, very sudden
there
too.
you
It was
go.
just
Yeah, like
out of the blue.
it really sends you, just it send it you're reeling from it.
Yeah.
For my dad, about a year and a half later, we knew that it was coming. He wasn't doing well. Like, he was feeling ill, went to the hospital, and he came back with a diagnosis of, well, you're taken over by cancer. You got about 3 months. But it allowed me to just spend all of the time with him for 3 months.
Yeah.
And that was a very different experience, with it. And, it's like, I don't want to say it this way, but like, I, I miss my dad, but I'm still grieving for my brother because that was just
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah.
And that hits you different, for sure. And And kudos to you for putting that stuff in, and especially the personal stuff, the relationship stuff, because, again, it's like I said towards the beginning, when you put that out there, you are helping a lot of people that you don't even know are out there reading your words. And it's really incredible to do so. So, on behalf of the silent ones, thank you. And I appreciate it. That's really good. Anthony, what about you? A time where you, obviously we know about the sad packing up to music,
Yeah.
and all that, it's heavy in a different way, but like writing through
honestly,
a hard time or creating.
Yeah. So writing that book was the hardest thing I've ever written. Like I haven't cried that much while writing anything ever.
Oh, I haven't cried that much while reading anything ever.
Yeah, thank you. That was a really rough one. Aside from that, I fall into, I always call it quicksand. I fall into a bit of depression from time to time. That's not great. I always have. It's like through the recent years, I've lost a series of friends just suddenly, very awkwardly, even just a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah. Oh my God.
So you feel like you fall into this quicksand, and it's like, you drown in it for a little bit, it's really hard to shake it. And even once you climb out of it, you cough it up and you do what you can to like right now, I'm not working on anything that I need that to help me inform. So I don't know how this pain is useful. Thanks.
Right.
No,
I hear you.
No, but it's like for me, I sometimes I just struggle and just don't write. But I'm pretty good. I've gotten pretty good over the years of like giving myself some grace with that. Yeah. And I just I recognize that now's not the time, in the same way, if you break
today's
your leg,
not a win, but it doesn't mean that I'm never going to have a win. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, so I kind of usually accept that, today is not the day to do that. And hopefully tomorrow will be, a little better. And I kind of do, I take steps toward whatever I want when I can, and take the little steps, and I try to celebrate small victories where I can in those moments.
Absolutely.
And eventually I take a few steps up and, shake the quicksand a little more, and I might leave my footprints, but eventually I'm at the top or closer to the top of the stairs.
Right. Look, man, there are millions of people that say they want to write a book, they want to write a comic, they want to do this, they want to do that, and they don't even start. And so already by working through some of that stuff, you're and allowing yourself to create, even if you're not in the perfect headspace for it, you're ahead of so many people that are just talk, and you're actually doing it. And that takes that takes a certain amount of courage to do. So kudos to you for working through that. And look, man, I get it. When depression hits, it's like, it's the same thing. Like I mentioned earlier, after my debut, it was a couple of years of just like, I can't, like, I just can't produce anything. Like, I'm just not happy, and trying to deal with all those things, until finally the right project came around. And it was one that I was approached on, that they asked me to write a book with them. This one was Joy-Jitsu. It's, creative nonfiction. And I was like, man, every single molecule in my body wanted to say no to the project because I was not in a good space. But I said yes, because I knew I needed it, and it's like that. That's part of the difference too, is just like, all right, I know myself. Like I can't just sit here and just be drowning in this forever. Like I can have a bad day, or like you said, just give yourself a little bit of grace. Like today's not a win. There's peaks and valleys to it. Like, of course you're a creative. If you're just sitting there and it's a success every day with your quill pen and but like, come on, that doesn't exist anymore. Like that's
that book.
No. You know what? That's the Catcher in the Rye. That's what I say.
Yeah, exactly. Get out of here.
Terrible. Shred it. Stupid Holden Caulfield. I'm still mad about it that I had to read the damn thing. So what about this? Let's flip it to the light side now. Which is, what about a time where you were creating like wildfire, and what did it feel like? And what did your days and your creative time look like during that?
Just every day for her.
Shut up.
It's like right now.
Like, I don't know if anyone's done the math out there. How many books have you written in a year? Like 6? It's crazy.
Ooh, yeah.
nuts, and she's a beast. It's amazing.
It's a lot of words.
No, it's it's incredible. But yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, I love you. The most productive I ever was when I wrote I Know What I Saw. And I kind of sat on that idea for about a year because I was still in the process of completing my trilogy, and I was like, well, I don't want to leave people hanging with that, and because people were pretty pissed at me the first 2 books ended in a cliffhanger, so I was like, well, I should probably finish it first.
Yeah.
So I did, and then as soon as I got done, I was like, okay, I want to write this freaking book. And from the time that I like nailed down the plot to the time that I finished writing the first draft, it was 17 days total.
Woo.
And I was like, I was like, I can't even believe I did this. And I really did it because I wanted to participate in a pitch event on Twitter. And I was like, well, I want the manuscript to be done by this date so I can start like pitching it out there and everything. And it almost got me an agent, but then I like people like started to reject it and stuff. And I was like, you know what? I know it's good. So I'm just going to self-publish it.
Yeah, for sure.
It's so good too.
And then another time when I felt very good was just recently. I wrote Intuition.
Bring it on fire.
Yeah. I mean, like, for the days that I actually wrote that, I'd say it was probably like 30 total. So a little bit longer than I Know What I Saw. But I also didn't write every day consecutively with that one. And you know, so it was a little bit different. We were going through a move together.
We moved,
so there was like a lot, and it was like the holiday season, so like there was a lot of like extra stuff going on.
For sure.
But still, you know, I managed to get it out, and like it's a great book. Not to toot my own horn, but it's a freaking great book.
Should be sure of yourself for sure. No, and it's awesome to have that kind of success too. Anthony, what about you? Is anything that time in your life where you're creating like mad and everything's working? Is it right now?
I mean, yeah, right now is pretty much like that. Recently I wrote I found out about a screenplay contest. My friend DM'd me, and he told me he was like, oh, Kevin Smith's hosting a screenplay contest, and I know you like writing screenplays, and you might be interested. And I was like, I haven't written a screenplay in a while. Okay, I'm gonna do this. And I literally just wrote a full screenplay in a day. And I was like, I loved it. And I came in like top 10 of the screenplay contest.
Oh, nice.
And I was like, hell yeah. I didn't win it, unfortunately, because of the reason. But it's a fun script that I eventually want to produce and make a movie out of.
Bullshit reasons. It's a great movie.
But like that was probably one of the most productive I felt. Like I actually recorded myself writing the whole thing. I was like, I'm like on fire with it, and just
nice.
So yeah, but aside from that, right now is incredibly productive. I'm writing the final. It's issue 5 of my series Deathless. It's like a superhero culty comedy comic.
Nice.
It's a fun book. But I'm writing issue 5 now while also working on a sexy erotic vampire comic that we got hired to pay. I got hired to make comics. I got hired to write comic books. So I'm writing a sexy erotic vampire thing called Bloodlust. So I'm doing that. I'm writing Deathless, and I'm writing my first novel, Table Scraps, or finishing that up. So it's a really productive time for me as well.
Screenplays, do you agree with Jeremy? Screenplays are fun.
I really love it. I mean, they're so dialogue heavy, and everyone loves writing dialogue. I mean, a lot of us love writing dialogue. I do.
I love it. Yeah. I've never written a screenplay, and I don't think I ever could. I just don't have that, like, I don't know what it is. It intimidates me. There's not a whole lot in the writing sphere that intimidates me, but that intimidates me. So, like, kudos to JL. Kudos to you for doing that. Kudos to anybody who does it, because I couldn't freaking do it.
It's funny. My niece, she's big into it, and she's won like some competitions and things like that in terms of screenplays. She had one that did really, really well and won like first place and got picked up and all that kind of stuff. And, I talked with her a bunch as I was writing, because somebody who's focused on screenplays and does that, they're really good at tightening up dialogue. because you have to, because the screenplay is not like the flowy prose is not there in the screenplay. Like it doesn't work that way. And so the story is really told through that concise, everything is very meaningful. And I found when I started to dig into that a little bit, I'm like, ooh, like this kind of helps me get a little punchy with my dialogue. You know, it really does help improve. I love reading scripts. I'll read a script, just like I'll devour a script, even if it's a movie I've seen 1,000 times. Like I've read the script for The Godfather so many times, and it's brilliant every single time. Like you get something different out of it. And it's like a different picture of the movie and the story and the dialogue and the relationships and all that. I think it helps authors a lot, to be honest. But it is really intimidating to just sit down and be like, how do I do this without describing a lot of stuff? Like what, you know, how does this even work? But your creative process is basically the same, right? I mean, like with whether it's comics or whether it's prose or whether it's screenplay, you're pretty much doing the same thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
See, that's pretty cool. Like then you know your process, you know how to do it.
Yeah.
Now, let me ask you.
Recently, I've been a dungeon master. I'm learning how to be a
oh, nice.
Yes, I am so ready for this campaign. It's not even funny.
So that's another thing I've written recently. I created my own world and dungeon.
That's what he was doing before we went on here.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to work
Excellent.
on my campaign.
So yeah, very.
No, that's good. You're like the dungeon, like you're like what kind of character, like what's it? Give me the rundown of the.
I can't.
Like what you've got going.
I can't spoil it for her. I can't
spoil it. Dang it.
Like I'm sorry. Yeah. Like if we were even one, like we're not even one session in yet. Like we're about to start. Like that's why. Like I've created this whole world. I have a series of opportunities, and hopefully they bite for some of them. But I've written a pretty in-depth world. I've created this, and I'm not a world builder traditionally. It's been fun though.
Yeah. Well, look, it's all different, man. That's the sandbox that we like to play in for, you know, when we're trying to be really creative. And just like you said in the beginning of this, for both of you, really, where you're plucking things out of your life and your experiences. KT, like when you're driving and you're going through that town, and I'm not really sure what's going on with the Yeti statues. That's a little weird. But like stuff like that, like those things make an impact, and then it affects everything that we put down and we create, you know, sometimes in huge ways and sometimes in small ways. Let me ask you about this actually. Is there can you list off some, we spoke about this a little bit before we started in the green room, but some movies or shows that are influential for you, ones that you really like, you really like the characters, it's things that you're like, you get inspired by or anything like that. Can you give us some recommendations?
Yeah. Dateline. I love Keith Morrison. He's my guy. I have a mug with his face on it in a billion different ways. Thank you, Anthony.
You're welcome.
I have socks with his face on it. Like I love Dateline. I can't express how much I love true crime. It's just like it's
Got you.
because like my dad, he loved anything to do with like serial killers. And he just had that same kind of fascination. So like growing up, it was just like, it was Dateline, it was America's Most Wanted, like, you know, all those different things. I was like, I don't know, 7 when John Benet Ramsey died, and I was following.
Wow, yeah, that was huge.
Yeah, I was following that at that age. Like, I just like, I needed to know what sick bastard did this to this poor little girl. Like, I'm obsessed with things like that. So like anything. And that's why it was funny. I went to a salon today, and the nail tech, we got to talking about true crime. She's just as obsessed as I am. And we were like, you know, swapping different like things that we had watched on Hulu or Netflix or what have you.
Natalie Holloway was another one that was like everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
And then
the Holloway story. That guy is such a gross, and his dad, ew, I hate them.
What about the Murdaugh trial? Did you get into that?
Oh yeah. So that whole thing, that was crazy. But that's it. Like that actually, it's funny you mentioned that, because that whole story has given me, you're just laughing at me, it's given me so many like ideas because of like what a like twisted thing that is, to just to have a family so steeped in secrecy and willing to do whatever they can to protect each other. I mean, there's no greater place, in my opinion, as a murder mystery writer, as a psychological thriller writer, to gain inspiration than by looking at what people have done in real life and building from there.
Right. Quick story for you.
Terrible inspiration.
When I got out of high school, the first thing I got into was court stenography, of all things. And I went to school for it. When I was at school for that was right when everything went down with OJ. And so our entire day was sitting there with the trial on TV and just writing the damn thing down.
Oh my God.
But it was all of like the super gross stuff with the knife wounds and how many there were and everywhere and which arteries were like, I mean, it was like there was so much going, and like some of it was gross. I'm like, well, now I'm gonna go have my leftover spaghetti for lunch. Like that's kind of gross.
There we go.
But yeah. But it's like there is definitely a fascination with it. One of my favorite shows ever is Dexter, for crying out loud.
Oh God, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, because like I just, there's something to dig into that when you've got humans and their awful base impulses and like the things that they're capable of, that it's kind of fascinating, in a lot of ways, just that human element. So totally get it. The Murdaugh stuff was crazy when they were trying to like with the doorway and then them showing where the gun was pointing.
No,
like I liked Depp versus Heard. Like that was more entertaining for me, for sure. Like, who shit the bed was pretty much like the most true crime aspect of that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. But Anthony, what about you? Have you ever stepped on a bee?
Have I stepped on a bee? Yeah. Every time. Yeah. My as far like I'm a big fan of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I love like Vonnegut books. I like Time Quake a lot. But a lot of comic books have been super inspirational to me. Like there's a book by Madman, Scud, a lot of those things. As far as like TV shows, it's endless. I love anthology horror shows like Tales from the Crypt. Like we mentioned that earlier. Like Tales from the Crypt was huge to me growing up. And then like a lot of adult animated shows, like Bob's Burgers, The Critic. I've always liked like that weird, like the things that kind of skirt the line between silly and sincere. Are always kind of like my favorite things, where I'm just like, oh yeah, they find a way to like show interesting adult like existential issues in an absurd way. That's fun,
right?
Like,
maybe not Archer. Are you an Archer guy?
I mean, Archers. Yeah, I like Archer.
That's how we get ants. Yeah,
anything H. John Benjamin. It's great.
Right? Yeah, for sure. No, I totally get that. Definitely. And Silo is awesome. I'm big into video games. I loved Fallout. I'm like, Silo scratches that itch. More than the actual Fallout show did for me, honestly. Like I like Silo more. But
I wasn't mad at the Fallout show, but it just wasn't like, it doesn't do what Silo does.
Yeah. No, I can tell because I lost interest in, like, I was like, there's more Fallout to watch, but like I couldn't wait for more Silo. Like I really couldn't. And Rebecca Ferguson was like, she's brilliant in it. So like everything, really good. Here's to hoping for a public trial of Lively versus Baldoni.
Oh God. That's great.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, who knows? Who knows? Well, I want to go ahead and get into some. I want to pry open your brains and play a little pitch storm with you guys. And I know don't really know what's coming, but everybody else does. So this is going to be super fun. So this is the idea to it. We're basically just going to kind of dig into your impromptu mind. Just like you said, you pick your influences out from all over the place. And so this is our chance to just kind of crack it open and see what it's like and splay your brain out on the internet for everyone to see. Talk about true crime. So I'm going to go ahead and read just a little intro to this, get the rules down for some of you that are watching that have no idea what I'm even talking about. And then we're going to have some fun with it. So I just have to find, I redid like my buttons and sounds and stuff because I'm like changing some things on here. So I got this one. All right. But that's not what I'm going for. What I'm going for is just something I can have in the background, and then we'll do a thing. All right. So next up, we're going to play some Pitch Storm. This little exercise provides us a live real-time look into our guests' brains. This is a fully random event all about creation in real time. I want you to be able to witness the magical moment when the spark of an idea manifests into something awesome and interesting in our physical world. Guests are given a random character, a random plot, and must pitch these two things as a story as detailed as their heart desires. Once the 30-second pitch is expired, there are 2 additional rounds, each with a unique twist. where the story must be repitched. Audience heckling is mandatory. So as a lifeline, I give you 2 mulligans. You can respin anything you want to respin. If you don't like it, that's fine. And if you have, a great distaste for something that you're prompted with, but not respinning twice in a row. So with that, I'm going to open up the Wheel of Doom, and we're going to get into this thing. Chat, I'm going to bounce you out for just a moment here while we get this going. Oh, Lord is right. Here we go. Oh, super exciting. Okay, so I'm going to break this down for you real quick. Right, I've got 2 right up at the top. These are 2 wheels of characters. Everything is fully randomized. This comes from a deck of cards. It's a card game. And I ended up putting everything into these wheels and the whole thing. So totally random. There's only 2 wheels because there were so many characters that they didn't fit in one. And then plots, same thing. There's 2 wheels of plots. And then the notes are for me to throw at you just to mess you up and see what happens. I have no idea. Like, it's fully random. There's 4 billion combinations possible through all of this stuff. So everything is unique and super fun. So let's create a story. What do you say? And your first illusion of choice, and you can do this together. You can do it separately. It's up to you guys. It doesn't matter. But the first question I have for you is characters A or characters B?
Characters A.
Characters
Wrong.
A. All right.
A for Anthony. It's right.
Wrong.
Here you go.
Crap.
Let's roll it and see what we get. Your main character is a family of cannibal hillbillies.
Love it.
Okay.
All right, we'll start with that. Plots A or plots B?
We'll go with plots B since we went with characters that, you know what?
Can't even
I'm
alliteration.
moving.
We'll do it again after this one. You can have whichever wheel you want. Like it's all yours. All right, so your family of cannibal hillbillies leads a ragtag crew of pirates against the British Navy.
Sounds right.
I mean, it sounds about right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to give you 30 seconds to pitch this story. And when the 30 seconds are up, you're going to hear that sound, right? Not that one. I don't know. There's a bunch of sounds going on. Sorry. But yes, those chimes, right? And you can continue on after that if you're like, you're finding you're in a groove. And then I'm going to throw a little wrinkle into this whole thing, and we'll see what happens, right? So tell me a story about about your family of cannibal hillbillies that are leading a ragtag crew of pirates against the British Navy. Off you go.
Okay. All right. Do you have something for this?
Oh my God.
Okay. So this family of hillbillies who lives in right outside of Moab, Utah, they find a group of hitchhiking victims to play with. And as they carve them open, they find a treasure map on the inside of their skin. So, they scrub that up real nice and they say, well, we gotta figure out what this is all about. We can't just stay out here in the desert all day. So they make their way to the East Coast naturally because this map leads to England. You can't get, California is right there, but we're not going to go there and cross the Pacific, go down. No, we got to just go straight over to the East Coast. So they go over to the East Coast and they find themselves some Boston pirates, naturally. They're all,
right.
You know how those Massachusetts people be. So
I like the idea that they see the flag with those skull and crossbones, and they're like, where there are bones, there's meat.
Yep, 100%. 100%.
Nice.
See,
There you
know
go.
what it's all about.
All right.
They head on over to Boston. They find their pirates, and then they, acquire a ship. They go over, and they're going to, was it UK? Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
British Navy. They have to fight, right? So they get there. The British Navy knows all about this. They're like,
okay.
We are informed. We have to protect this treasure from these cannibals.
Okay.
And they get there and they have to fight them. It goes poorly. They're drowning in the sea. One survives. One lone hillbilly survives.
Okay.
As they often do. And they roll onto the shore, but they don't have the map anymore. So now they have to.
Because they got hungry.
They did get hungry.
Situation. Oh no!
Who ate the map? That's
I got the drink, but I got this skin, and I'm gonna eat it. So they did that. They got.
Which one of you had man flesh?
None of your business.
All right. Well, let me throw a wrinkle into this one, and then and see. Let's see you pivot on this, right? So consider me the meddling producer who's really into this screenplay so far. And
Okay, yeah.
what we're gonna do is add. Let's have the characters adopt a dog together because everyone loves dogs. Can you give me 30 seconds adding an adopted dog into this story?
Oh, I'll do it in 5. As he gets onto the shore, a dog comes up to him and, is very friendly. And he notices that around the dog's collar just so happens to be a rolled up map. So obviously, these guys are best friends. They need to go.
Clearly.
I don't know. Problem solved. So
What's the dog? What's the dog's name? Give me the dog name as a character. Who's the dog?
The dog's name?
Gilbert Godfrey.
Gilbert Godfrey.
That's a great name for a dog. That's right in line with the way I like to name my cats. So yeah, no, that's perfect. All right.
I would like to propose a change. Can we do Gilbert Dogfrey?
We can do Gilbert Dogfried, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I mean, they're cannibals. Gilbert Dog Fried. All right. Anyway, we're gonna add one more wrinkle into this, and 30 seconds, and I just need you to bring me home to a good ending, right?
All right.
So let's spin it and see what the final wrinkle to this story is. Let's go. How can we make this a Godzilla reboot? All right. Okay. Off you go.
So,
that map around the dog's neck.
The map around the dog's neck, right? He takes that. But he is, he did have that skin at sea to tide him over.
Nice.
But he's still hungry, and unfortunately, he does need to eat his best friend now. But it's to memorialize. So he is, kind of like this man dog thing.
So he's a little kaiju.
He's a little
like
kaiju,
a skin suit.
right? Crawling out of the sea.
Very tiny.
He's a little like a Shibu Inu. Yeah, a little Yorkie kaiju. Fantastic.
I mean, and now he is stomping all over London in his little dog costume. That's just how the cookie crumbles, guys. So can I have my movie deal now?
I say yes. Absolutely. It's approved. It's approved.
I'm sorry, guys. I have to go pack my bags for Hollywood.
Your budget is set at about $75, which should get you like a good little Yorkie to play the part.
Yeah, I think that's actually too much.
That's too much money.
It might be too much.
I've seen worse movies.
No. See, bravo, you guys. You got the spirit of the whole thing, and that's good. First time through. We've got, where are all the middle class cannibal families? They're always hillbillies. That is weird. Yeah, agreed. Tuned in just in time for the Massachusetts people encounter. I do indeed know how they be.
Yeah.
Gilbert Dogfried, my sides. And you got to vote for a movie deal. So look at you accomplishing. I like it. You want to do one more?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He needs to do one.
Me?
Yeah.
Let's go around and let me clear these out. And let's have some fun. All right, man. What do you want? Characters A or characters B?
Oh, B, of course. That's
Wrong.
the right
B,
answer.
obviously. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right.
obviously. All right.
So let's
It was a trap.
Let's see what we get. Your main character is a prince transformed into a frog.
Okay, got it.
Froggy main character.
Plots A.
Plots A, yep. And here we go. Your frog prince. What are they getting up to? Battles a mysterious monster that can take the form of anything it kills.
Okay.
Ooh. Oh, there's a lot to work with.
Yeah.
All right. I will start the 30-second timer again. You'll hear the chimes, but you can keep going. It's totally fine. As soon as you're ready.
That's easy. Okay. Okay, I got it. We ready?
Go for it.
Okay. So there's a prince who gets cursed by this witch, obviously, and is turned into a frog. She says, if you find me and get me to laugh, I'll turn you back into a prince.
Oh.
And he says, I will. And then she's gone. She disappears.
Okay.
So this prince, as a frog hops around. Of course, he's getting used to his frog body. He's figuring out how to frog around. He doesn't know what to do. He's hopping.
Going through traffic.
He's going through traffic. You've seen Frogger. You've played it.
Oh yeah.
But of course, he doesn't have like the appetite that a frog has. He wants to eat like a person, like a prince. So he's going to restaurants, getting kicked out of restaurants. They're trying to make a meal out of him because they're like frog legs. He's got them. So meanwhile, this witch is working on a new spell in her lair, and she accidentally summons this creature. And she looks at it and she's terrified. She's never seen anything like this. She was just trying to make like a nice like flan. She's like, I'm trying to make flan and I make this. And so this beast kills the witch and then suddenly looks like her. Right? Oh. So this creature steps out of this cave and he's transforming. He doesn't know what he is. It's his first day on Earth. He's a baby. He's a baby monster who just happens to murder things with his body, like Frankenstein, So he comes out, and as he comes out, there's a frog looking him dead in his witch eyes. And it starts...
His dead little witch
eyes. And this frog's like, knock, knock. And he's like...
Really?
Naturally.
And so this monster's like, I don't know what you're doing or what you are. I've never seen a frog before. So it turns and it just starts walking off into the distance. And so this frog prince chases this monster, and it becomes this weird buddy road trip movie where the monster learns how to be a person as this witch. And the frog is the whole time hoping to make this witch laugh so that he can be a prince again.
All right.
Yeah, it's very endearing, adorable,
yes.
Right? I'm into it. I love the buddy movie concept of the frog and the witch eating monster. So let's throw a wrinkle into this and see. Let's see you pivot with something random thrown in. As the meddling producer, I say, part of this movie needs to be claymation. How would we make that work?
Oh my God, that monster is 100% real. It is like it's a real person, and the frog is claymation because that's worse. So that's what we're going to go with.
Yes,
we're going to go with. It could be like a clay face situation where there's a morphing involved. No, we're going to go pure practical.
Are you going like Wallace and Gromit kind of like?
It's going to be the Wallace and Gromit frog with like a disgusting, grotesque, very meaty and like American Werewolf in London-esque transformative witch monster. That's what's gonna happen. So that's what we're going with.
All right. So we got claymation in it. Let's add one more wrinkle and then get me to an ending. All right.
Okay.
Let's see how we can resolve this buddy movie. Is it a good ending? Is it a sad ending? It needs a really catchy theme song. So what's the title? How does it go? What's playing out at the end of the movie during your ending?
So this is what happens, and it's just true, and I'm sorry. I don't write these things. They come to me from God or something. I don't know. I apologize for nothing. This is what happens in this movie, and you're all going to watch it, is the frog in this monster, and he's still a witch because he's like, I'm a monster, and I'm having this good time with my new buddy, this little hoppy thing. And he, for the first time, feels the corners of his mouth like turning up, and he's like, what is this joy, and he's like, oh, this is like, I'm elated, like, what is this? And he starts laughing, just like uncontrollably laughing. And when this happens, the frog turns immediately in this grotesque like claymation form. He turns into a prince. Man, but when he claymates into a prince, it terrifies the monster, and he immediately kills the prince.
Oh, so
it turns him into a prince.
Into the prince.
He drives off into sunset. He rides off in the sunset, and then he's recognized as the prince, and everyone he meets loves him from that point on, and he's greeted with smiles, and he's the rest of his days.
What's the song playing it out? I need to know what you're thinking. I have an idea, but I need to know yours.
It can't be tub thumping. We already did that 7 times, Anthony.
Like, can I just throw out a suggestion? No. Maybe it's Pharrell and Happy.
Oh my God! Yes.
I
That's like,
mean,
you know what? I can see it. Oh no, it's because I'm happy.
right there you go.
Hoppy.
Hoppy and dog freed.
Yep.
Bravo, sir. Bravo. I'm into it. I like the idea of a monster that eats that eats the hero in the end. And basically, it's got a real like talented Mr. Ripley kind of
Yeah,
feel
right.
to it. At the end, you know, just like kind of taking over
Hero.
the whole thing, living the prince's life. I don't know.
This is me now. Yeah.
That's right. That's right. Well, there you go. You have survived pitch storms. So congratulations and thank you. You totally nailed the spirit of that. And super fun. Look, one of the reasons I like to do that, it's especially having authors on here, is it just gives us that opportunity as people getting to know you, like on this stream, and just digging into some of your personal life and everything else, and seeing your influences and who you are come out. You know, knowing the kind of stuff that you create and write, and putting you a little on the spot and saying, all right, like now show us. And you nailed it, you know, great job. That's awesome stuff. We've had some real, like, I truly believe this show has started some franchises during its run, you know, for all this kind of stuff. So like, hey, who knows, maybe there's a bit of inspiration in there for you somewhere for all that. Well, I want to wrap up. I don't want to keep you guys any longer. But before we do that, there's generally, you know, a question that I like to ask, and ask you to just kind of bring it home with this one for me. A lot of people watching or will watch this eventually, perhaps afterwards. And is there a piece of advice you would give to that person that is either perhaps they are struggling through something like some depression or things along those lines, or perhaps they are struggling through something like grief or losing somebody, or just having a hard time creating? You guys have been through a lot in terms of that. You're obviously great together and with one another, and you've you know, you're powering through those things. So what advice do you give to that person that's watching, perhaps not as far along on their journey as you are? So let's give them a little bit of a boost, but what advice can you give them so they can start being productive and getting their creative process down?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the first step really is to acknowledge, like, hey, I am going through this. And I think that that alone can be very difficult for some people. Especially, you know, something I've become very passionate about since leaving my abuser is, you know, domestic violence and, you know, abuse of that kind, and living through that situation, and not being able to recognize when it's happening. Um, so, you know, first being able to acknowledge that, and then to say to yourself, okay, well, I'm not happy right now. What do I need to do to be happy?
Mm.
Um, what does that look like for me? And, you know, if you're a creative person, that likely means finding the space and the time to devote to your craft. So then you have to then ask yourself, okay, well, how do I do that? And that might be a different answer for everybody. For me, it was, you know, I was spending a lot of time on my craft with my abuser around, but I couldn't do that with him anymore. I wasn't safe anymore, and I
Yeah.
needed to find a place to be safe so I could continue to do that. So, you know, leaning on the people around you. If you have a support system, great. If you don't, there are plenty of resources that you can fall back on that can help you find that path to safety, whatever that means for you. And finding that ability to move on, and that strength to put that behind you. It's hard. It's really hard. But taking those steps and doing that for yourself can be absolutely life-changing for the better.
Absolutely. Yep. No, that's excellent advice. Anthony, what about you? If there's some piece of advice you can give to that person that's struggling to create and have their output, what would you say to them?
Yeah, honestly, I think for me, the most important thing is to remember that like anything is everything. You know, like anything you can do toward your goal today is better than the thing that you don't do. You know, so if you know, not everyone writes 1,000 words. I don't write 1,000 words a day. You know, but if you can write 9 okay words a day, or if you can just come up with like a little bit of the idea, if you shape, like, you know, like just earlier, I was thinking about like D&D, and I was like, I had like a eureka moment where I was like, oh my god, my whole story is different now, and it's like,
Right.
but like that's part of the writing process is
Yeah.
giving yourself time when if you're doing dishes, and instead of thinking like, ugh, I hate doing dishes, don't do your best to just ignore those intrusive thoughts and like let your brain be creative in those moments. Like take little moments throughout the day to find that time to just like run those simulations. Like, what does this story look like? What would it look like if I added a frog? What would it look like if I added this monster? And, let yourself, give yourself a little bit of grace and forgive yourself for the days you get 0 words down, because it's fine.
For sure.
But yeah, I think the most important thing for me is like you celebrate small victories, do what you can where you are with whatever you have. And, whatever that looks like that's what you can do today. And you just have to, just forgive yourself for what you can't do and just appreciate what you can. That's all.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that too comes down to not looking at other people and saying, "Oh, I want to do it that way," because you're not that person.
The thief of joy.
I feel like a lot of us time travel, instead of like actually living in our now and like the creativity that we should be working on. We're like, oh, why didn't I do this in the past? And what am I? I'm not gonna be able to do this in the future. And instead of just like, no, where are we right now? Let's just do what we can and. Right, or just try.
It's excellent advice, and yeah, I'll echo that, Trinity. Very nicely put, and certainly great tips and advice for sure. Well, don't leave yet, everybody that's watching, because there's going to be some dancing. It's just a thing. Just bear with me. That's going on to close out this video. But before then, I just want to say, once again, thank you guys. Really appreciate it. This has been such a great conversation, and just really great to get to know you as people and just see how much of your life and what you're going through that you put into all of your work, which is just really critical. And this is the kind of thing that helps a lot of people. So please, if you're here and you've come across from my channel or my X account, please give these two a follow. X is like your platform of choice, you guys, right? Like you're mostly hang out there.
Well, X, that's pretty much what we do.
Yep. And but you just started your YouTube like recently. So the links are in the description of the video and all that. Please go give them a follow if you're here watching me. And if you're here because you've stumbled across this channel and be like, what the hell is a MIRTH QUAKE? Now you know. And you know what I do. And I do this all the time. And I'm always trying to talk to and platform authors because it's really hard out there. And we need a way to reach out to people that's not just telling people about our world building, but at least letting people get to know like who we are, and then we become friends. We're all in the community together. We support each other. We review our books and we're all in it. We're all resources and all that kind of thing. So, really appreciate everybody in the chat and all of that for sure. So let me just read this out. I've got a little bit of an outro that I like to do just to remind everybody. So I'm going to do that real quick. And then one more thing. So let's go. Folks, thank you for tuning in, spending some time with us tonight. Special thanks to Anthony and KT for being great sports, wonderful guests. Highly encourage you to check out all of their work. Links to all the things in the description of the videos on YouTube, 2 different channels, on Rumble, if anybody's there, and on Twitter and their website and the whole thing. If you would be interested in being a guest and part of the MIRTH QUAKE community or a guest on the show, just head over to mirthquake.show. All the details are there. And hopefully soon we will be prying open your brain and throwing it on the internet for everyone to see. So I have a special, it's first time release of an outro for the show that I created just an hour before we started talking and got on here. This was my frantic thing before we began. So what I'm going to do is play that. It's about 30 seconds. And then I just want you guys to hang on and I will see you in the green room right after that. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Sounds good. And once again, thank you to everyone in the chat. Really appreciated in the activity and follow us on all the things and we'll be seeing you on the internet and everything. Thanks again, you guys. Really, really appreciate it.
Yeah,
and
it was fun.
We're going to play this out. So enjoy this absurd little show that you're about to see. And I'll talk to you guys in just a moment.
Awesome.